G'day so-and-sos, welcome to my sewing room. My name's Cathy, and in today's video I'm going to talk about the differences between industrial and domestic sewing machines. So you might be at the stage of your sewing journey where you're thinking about getting a new machine and maybe upgrading to an industrial, or maybe you're just starting out and deciding what sort of machine is going to suit you and what you want to do. So we're going to talk about the differences between the two, the pros and cons, and then we'll have a look at some of my machines. So let's start off by talking about some of the differences between an industrial and a domestic machine. Now, the hint there is in the wording, industrial and domestic. An industrial machine is designed for industrial work, so that sort of high volume, run all day, go really fast type thing. And then your domestic machine is designed more for home use, for projects that you might be doing around the house, like making clothes or pillows or toys or, alteration type thing. Now, I am a speed kind of girl. I love anything that goes from 0 to 100 in 3 seconds or less. So I love my industrial machines, but that can be a real downfall when you're trying to do finer work of controlling the speed and doing that sort of finesse type of thing. So an industrial machine is also much, much less portable. The last time I moved house, the mover told me not to call him again. One of my machines, the whole unit, is probably around 55 kilos, I think, and my older one is even more. So I certainly can't move them around the house, let alone around the room. Where your domestic machines, you can just pick up and go. You can take it on holiday, you can take it to a friend's house for a sewing session, or take it away to a class. If you get an industrial machine, you need to remember that, once you put it down in place, really sort of difficult to move it around, and you certainly can't take it with you anywhere. So let's jump in and have a look at some of my machines, talk about what they do and the pros and cons of each. So let's start off with looking at my favourite machine. Now this is my industrial machine, one of them, my Singer 141G. Now she is built to do one thing, and that is a straight stitch. So you need to keep that in mind with industrial machines, is that they often only do one type of stitch. Rarely they do two. My other machine would do a zigzag as well with a lot of fussing around. But generally they do one thing and that's it. So you can get some that are a straight stitch, some that are a zigzag stitch, some that specialise in doing buttonholes, that type of thing. So they're generally designed just to do one thing, because in factories, one person would do one piece of the garment or bag or whatever, and then the next person will do the next piece, and then the next person. So it's not one person sitting there constructing a whole unit. They just do one bit over and over and over again on their machine, and then it gets passed off to another one. And that's what industrial machines are designed for. But they are fantastic for bag making. So with this one, she goes really, 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 really fast. So if you've watched any of my shorts where I load a bobbin, you'll see that she can do it in under like 40 seconds. So I've got it set on the highest speed, and this is what this machine is designed to do. She goes really, really, really fast in one direction, and she does it very, very well. So if we have a look at those stitches, it is just gorgeous. Now for bag making or anything that sort of you're doing at home, you don't want it to be going that fast. So I usually have it between 7 and 600, which is as slow as she goes. With this one, you also have the option of having your needle up or down in your work. So I always leave it with my needle down. So when I finish sewing anything, when the machine stops, when I take my foot off the pedal, the needle is always down, which is a function I love, but you can also get on domestic machines. So with bag making, that's one layer of vinyl, and she just ate through that, no problem. So if I double it over again, absolutely no problem at all. She's also got a knee lift, which is very easy and makes life easier. So it's a little pad, I'll show you, where I can use my knee to lift this presser foot. So I've always got both hands free. So what are we now? 4 layers? So that's sort of, you know, a regular type strap that I might make. Fold it over again, do it up this end. So that's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No problem at all. Fold it over again, and that's probably as much as I can fit under that foot. But she has no problem. And that's a really light needle that I've got in there as well. So the needle that I've got in there, and she actually missed a couple of stitches, probably just because of the lightness of the needle. So the needle that I've got in there at the moment is, I think, a 70 weight, because I was doing fine work, which is sort of what you'd find on a domestic machine. But I have needles up to 120 weight, so almost double that. Now this machine too is self-oiling, which is great. Wait for it to turn off. So if I pop that back, don't judge me for how grotty it is under here. There's the oil reservoir. So it's got some wicks on there and this little pump thing, and it pumps up the oil into the machine, so you don't need to worry about oiling it. So if I turn it back on, and I'll make it go fast. And if we watch this little bubble up here, I might need to pick you up. So if we watch that bubble, we can see the oil jumping up. So that's how she self-oils. Now to wind a bobbin is super easy and super fast on this thing as well. I should have unthreaded that before I made it go fast with nothing in it. That's all right. So winding a bobbin is an absolute dream on this machine. The bobbins themselves are really cheap. That's another thing that I really love about this machine, is you can buy everything in bulk. So everything's really cheap. Like, you know, 100 bobbin holders were, you know, like $10. Needles are really cheap. Put that away. Super quick, and I get a so neat, like a perfect bobbin every time. Now, when I bought my latest domestic machine, it took me maybe, I don't know, 8 or 9 bobbins to actually get one that looked right. So that's something I love about this machine as well, is it's just, I feel like it's a little bit more forgiving than my domestic, but maybe it's just because I'm used to it. Let's have a look at my other one. So let's have a look at this one. Now, you might be thinking about buying a second-hand machine that you've come across on Marketplace or somewhere like that. And you just need to remember that all machines are different. They all do different things. So this one is a Singer 20U. Now, this is still really sought after by people that do a lot of clothing and sort of fashion type work, because that's what she was built to do. She is a little bit different from the 141G in that I have needle position on this one. There's my stitch length, and I can change to a zigzag, which means that you can do buttonholes and stuff like that. And with being able to change the needle position, it makes doing zippers a lot easier. She is a clutch-driven machine, which means that she has a big motor here underneath. And she's a little bit noisier than the other one. Still has a knee lift, which I forgot to show you on my other one. And she goes really fast as well. But she's a little bit harder to control because everything is done with your foot. So you don't have the option of slowing down your speed anywhere. The lady that I got her from had gotten her for her birthday when she was quite young, still in her teens, and sewed on her for at least 20 years at a curtain making place, and just absolutely loved it. But that's what she's designed to do, to go really fast in one direction. So for clothing and for curtains and stuff like that, amazing machine. When I want to do more lightweight stuff, she's fantastic, because I mean, that's 2 pieces of cotton and she was fine with it. Where if I tried to do that on the 141, she would have just eaten it up. She doesn't like light stuff. She likes doing the heavy work. So this machine, even though she's great for curtains and stuff like that, and she still handles vinyl fine, but my other one is much better for the multiple layers of vinyl or leather. She prefers the sort of, you know, the mid-weight stuff, but will still do the light. So great machine. So when I talk about the knee lift, this is what I'm talking about. So I use my knee to lift and lower my presser foot. And I have that on both my industrials, and I think all industrials have the same thing. Makes it much easier to leave your hands free to do your work. Now let's have a look at one of my domestic machines. Now this is a Singer C430, and it's a fantastic machine. I've really enjoyed it, and I think it's a great machine for beginners. Now, one of the reasons I think it's so good for beginners is that it has automatic tension. So it's got a heap of different stitches and things that you can do, and for each one it automatically chooses the tension to use. So you're not messing around with the tension. Something that I've found with it is that I don't have to troubleshoot as much. It is so easy to use. Now, I taught my husband how to make a bag on this machine, and I have a video up where I do that. He's never touched a sewing machine before in his life, and he was able to make a bag from start to finish on this thing, and I did not touch a single thing. And you can see the video on that. So like I said, it's got a heap of different stitches, automatic tension. It tells you what foot to use for what stitch you choose. So it's telling me for these stitches, I need the B foot. What else have we got there? I've got to remember how to do it. So if I select that one, it's telling me for stitch number 20, I need the A foot. Let's try and find something a bit more obscure. 37, it's telling me I need the B foot. So it's got 3 or 4, I think, different feet with it, and it'll tell you what foot that you have to use with it. It's got an automatic backstitch button. As you can see, that red light is on, so it's telling me that I can't sew yet, and that's because my presser foot is up. If I put my presser foot down, it's telling me, yeah, cool, you're right to go. It's got a needle down function, so I can leave my needle in my work, which is really important to me, because when you're pivoting your work, if you're sewing something and you want to move it, you want your needle in your work to hold your fabric in place. If your needle is up when you go to move your fabric, it's going to shift. So having that needle down option is awesome. It's got the little turtle, which means obviously go slow, and an automatic thread cutter. So it's got so much there for you already that will do things automatically that you don't need to have necessarily the same level of skill as you do to use an industrial machine. Being a new sewer, if you go straight onto an industrial machine, you're going to learn really fast, but it's going to be a steeper learning curve than on a machine like this. Now she comes with different spool holders, which is really important. And I'll go through this in another video, but when you've got different spool holders on a machine, so you've got one that lays flat and one that goes up, the one that lays flat is for cross-wound thread like that, thread that goes that way and then that way and then that way. Where if you're using thread that just comes off just horizontally, it needs to be upright. And I see so many people on sewing pages trying to figure out what the hell they're doing wrong. And most of the time it's because they've got the thread vertical where it's meant to be horizontal, or vice versa. But I will go through that in another video. But yeah, great little machine. So there's a bit of an overview between a industrial and a domestic machine. Now, a couple more questions that you should ask yourself. The first being, what is your budget? Because a industrial machine, even secondhand, is going to run more expensive than a domestic machine. So you need to ask yourself, what your budget is and what you can afford. And you don't necessarily want to go with the cheapest machine that you find because it might not do what you want it to do. That being the second question is, what do you want it to do? If you want to get into clothing alterations, then, working from home, then you might want to get a machine like my Singer 20U, which is designed for that type of thing, for clothing and for curtain making, that type of stuff that, you can do at home and make yourself a little bit of money, or just tailor your own clothes and your friends and family clothes. Or do you want something like my 141G so you can get into things like bag making? Or do you want to do stuff more sort of around the house? Do you want to be making pillows? Do you want to be making baby clothes? Do you want to be doing embroidery type things? Because then a domestic is really going to suit you best. So, or quilting, for example. If you want to get into quilting, you really want to get a machine that is designed for quilting and not just any old domestic machine. Different machines do different things better than others. So really sort of figure out what you want to do and then research what type of machine is going to suit you. Now, I am a Singer girl all the way. All my machines are Singers. And it would just so happen that way. If you talk to someone that has a Juki, they will tell you hands down, Juki are the best machines ever and everything else is terrible. If you talk to someone that has Brother machines are the bomb, everything else is cheap crap and you shouldn't buy it. Not saying that's wrong because I love Singers, but it's usually just because we find something that we like and we get used to it. Now, all my machines are Singers. I just had in my head that, sewing machine, Singer, they sort of go together. I've never used anything else. I started off with a Singer machine. I moved up to another Singer machine. I bought another one and it just goes on like that. You'll find the same thing a lot, not always, but if someone has a Juki, it's because they've always used a Juki. Or if someone is saying Janome is the best, they've always used Janome or they've learnt on a Janome. So the best thing that you could do is go to your dealer, have them set up a couple of different machines and different brands and see what you like, because I'm sure they're all very different. I'm sure if I got in a baby lock or a Juki or something like that and I tried it, I might be like, wow, I might be surprised and block your ears, baby. I might actually think that it's better than my Singers. But, you never know. I know what I know. I know what I'm familiar with, and I've just run with that, as we tend to do. So try out a couple. Don't just pick one off Marketplace and go with that. Try, if you do find one on Marketplace, go, but ask if you can use it first and see if you like it, and then find another brand and see if you like that and shop around. You'll do yourself really well to be able to do that. Okay, well, I hope that has given you a better idea of maybe what you want to look for. If you have any questions, pop them in the comments. I'm more than happy for people in the comments to answer other people because, like I said, I have only used Singer. I'm happy to get back to you and give you my 2 cents worth. But if you want to answer each other's questions, that would be great as well, because the more knowledge that's out there and the more we help each other, the more we learn. Okay, guys, that's it for me today. Until next time, remember, it's only fabric. We can always buy more, and we can always buy more sewing machines. Okay, guys, see ya. Bugger.